morning.
Good morning. How are
Good
you?
morning. So, for those that don't know about you, I've known Krutitwa. Wait, tell me how you pronounce your name. I've only ever read it.
Okay, so my name is Krutitwa, but you can address me as KD as well. So
Hmm.
if KD is easy for you, you can address me as KD.
Okay, Katie. Cool. And I've probably known you through Facebook or Instagram, maybe 5 years,
Right.
6 years, for a while, right?
Yes.
I've always been impressed by your work. It's amazing, amazing stuff.
Oh, thank you so much. It means a lot coming from you.
So just so people know, like recently, what have you been working on?
As of now, I am working on a feature film with Access Studios, UK.
Hmm.
You must be knowing Randeep. So Randeep is the story supervisor for this feature.
Oh, I think you told me you're right. So you're working with Randeep.
Yes, yes, yes. He told me
That
to convey his regards to you. He
that's
told me
awesome.
that,
I got to do one of these with Randeep too.
yes,
Um,
I told him today that we are meeting on Insta Live.
yeah,
So he told me that to say hi to you, and
cool.
he knows you. He has worked with your wife,
Yeah,
and that he knows you very well.
yeah. We're good friends. He's awesome.
Yeah,
Um, so you live in India, right?
yes.
Yeah, and I mean, India is a big country. Tell me a little bit about where you're from and
Okay, so I am basically from a place called Puri. That place is very, very famous. It's religiously famous because of a temple. And
okay.
every year we have a car festival, which is world famous. If you type on Google like car festival Puri, you will get, you know, uh, details about my place. So that's
Yeah,
how my place is it's a small place, it's a small town, but it's famous because of this car festival and uh, this temple we have, Jagannath temple.
yeah.
So I belong from that town. So, and yeah, I was very, very interested in, drawings and cartoons from since my childhood.
Or
So
is there a large community of artists where you grew up?
no, not at all. My mom used
No,
to draw. My mom
your
used to
mom
draw.
drew.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
I'm
I'm,
curious, like, did you go to school for animation?
yes, actually, after my high school, uh, you won't believe from my whole community, the people whom I know everyone around me. I'm the only one who went into art and into animation
Mm,
because in our community or in our city, you can say, people don't consider art as a career, you
yeah,
know. So it's very, very different here
yeah,
scenario. I was lucky that my parents agreed to what I wanted to do, and they told me, okay, you can go and pursue your dreams, whatever you want to do.
wow,
Yeah, I
that's
was lucky.
amazing.
You know, I had a friend who used to draw as well, who was better than me in school.
Yeah,
But both of us were about to go to the same school, same animation college.
yeah,
Uh, I, inquired little bit about that college. I told him that, see, this is the college. Let's go together because it's very, very far away from where I live.
yeah.
So almost in a different state,
Okay,
India states. So it's in a
like an
different state.
airplane flight, or you could drive
Yes.
there.
If you go by train, it takes almost 2.5 days
Okay,
of journey. Yeah. So it's that far. By
yeah,
flight, it takes hardly 2 hours.
okay.
So I told him, let's go together. And he said, okay, but his parents never allowed him.
Yeah, it's actually very similar growing up in the United States. So most parents would not want their children to go into art. So like when I graduated from high school, my parents were like, "Hey, if you go get an engineering degree, we'll pay for that.
Oh.
We're not going to pay for an art degree. That seems insane." Like they were like, "What are you going to do? You're going to go draw on the sidewalk and people put money in a hat?" Um, they had no clue that and I honestly didn't have a clue that was a career at that time. So I was like,
Oh,
yeah, I guess you're right. What am I going to do? So I had always planned, well, while I'm in school, I'll make comic strips. And at the time, it's before internet. It's like the newspaper, Calvin and Hobbes. And I grew up reading a lot of those comic strips. So I was like, oh, that's what I'll do. That's what artists do. You make a comic strip for the newspaper. Um, but
oh.
I
But
was always doing that on the side.
I can't believe it because living here, uh, we think that's what I think. I can speak for myself. I think that I used to think that in USA
Oh,
maybe
Randeep just
people are more.
joined. What's up, Randeep?
Oh, yeah. I told him. He told me that he might join
Yeah,
if
cool.
he's super busy. He's
Yeah.
super busy, and yeah, we are doing our stuff together.
But
Yeah.
you had a different view of what it's like in the U.S. growing up.
Yes, yes, yes. I always thought that people must be aware of from their childhood that what is animation. People must be parents must be very very enthusiastic about art as a career. So I always had that kind of idea in my mind.
Yeah. Um, you know, it when I graduated and I got my job at DreamWorks as a storyboard artist, my parents came and visited the studio and they sat down and they were like, I guess we were wrong. They're like, wait, because I've mentioned this before, but like when I was graduating from engineering school, a lot of my friends were all getting jobs and everyone was building missiles for the government, which is kind of like, first off, I was like, do I really want to go do that? And they were totally proud. They were like, we're protecting our country, But I just kind of didn't want to build missiles. I was like, this seems a little, I don't know. I didn't feel good about it. And they were all getting paid about $40,000 a year less than I had. Now I had made some friends coming out of art school. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, these artists are coming out making more than engineers. This is crazy. So I immediately moved to LA and tried to break into animation after I graduated. It took me 2 years. So the first 2 years, I probably made $17,000 a year. I did illustration for magazines. There used to be like a Nickelodeon magazine. I did illustrations for that and comics and stuff. But and eventually I broke in. When you were graduating school, were there a lot of studios out in India?
No, not much because we didn't knew that what animation was. I was only interested because I was so much into cartoons. Because when I was kid, my parents, they were interested in okay, let's this guy is interested in drawing, so let's send him to some drawing school.
Yeah,
As a kid, you go to remote drawing school, independent drawing teachers on Sundays, Sunday classes.
yeah,
So I never went there because on Sunday we used to watch cartoons
yeah.
because in here when we were little, so uh, we got cartoons only on Sundays, and there was a very famous cartoon called Mowgli. It's
Hmm.
Jungle Book basically, and it was the Japanese version, the
Okay.
series, animated series. So it used to come on our national channel. So just to watch that cartoon, I never went to learn drawing
Oh,
because more interested in watching that cartoon rather than going to some school and drawing. But most of my friends, they were into uh, getting uh, training for drawing. They were into going into Sunday classes to learn
yeah,
drawings. And when I graduated, uh, like after I finished my high school,
yeah,
I didn't know there were any studios. I didn't know what I want, like what animation is exactly. I know that there were cartoons,
yeah,
but I never knew that it was, a team affair and so many people come to do it. You do it in a
yeah,
studio. I had no idea because not a single person related to me was into this field.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
completely different.
Even I don't know how old you are, but I'm 40, and or I'll be 40 soon. And when I was in high school, I didn't know there was animation was even a career. Whereas sometimes I feel like kids nowadays, they are familiar enough with the internet, they find enough information that there'll be 16-year-olds that already know they want to be a storyboard artist
Yeah,
or already know they want to be a character designer.
yeah. Mostly when uh, I was looking out for animation, the internet was, very, very difficult to get. We used to go to cyber cafes to access internet, and that
Yeah,
was too slow. So I'm
yeah,
basically 5 years old. So,
yeah.
and I started my career around 2006. Uh,
Hmm.
so yeah, in what you are telling is completely right, because nowadays when I also meet some junior kids or some kids coming out from colleges, they are so talented and they already know what they want to do. They have so many
Yeah.
tutorials around them. They have all the access. They have everything.
The other the other cool thing is I remember I was working on How to Train Your Dragon 2, and we went on a field trip to Dean DeBlois. He's the director. We went to his cabin in Big Bear, and it was the whole storyboard crew. And
Right.
every single board artist was from a different country. So I was actually the only American on the crew at the time. So the head of story was from Italy. One of the board artists, Simon Otto, I don't want to, if I'm wrong, I think he's from Switzerland. I think maybe Rodolphe was on it, who's from France. Uh, and then actually, was Rodolphe on it? No. Bolin Bushima, I think, was on it, and he was from France. And then um, did I already say Alessandro Carloni from Italy? Tron Mai was from Vietnam. The director was from Canada. So it it's like you being from India. Last week we talked to Ife, who's from Nigeria. It's kind of cool that the talent pool just kind of rises up from around the world and comes
Right.
together. Like
Right.
even at a studio like DreamWorks, which is in the U.S. Do you end up working on a lot of projects that are not in India? Like right now, the project you're on are you working like from India, but it's set somewhere else?
Yes. Uh, so this is one project, and mostly the industry in India is not so good actually. To
Mm-hmm.
be to frankly speaking, if you're working good and if you are working hard, but the things that we get to work on local basis are not so good. You may
Yeah,
not get complete satisfaction after working on them because their quality is too low. So and they're not interesting to work on as well.
yeah,
So as an individual, I have always been looking forward to work on different things, because in 2018 also I got I was lucky enough to go to get the opportunity to work on a feature as well, that
yeah,
was with Bold Media, the studios in Ireland. So that
yeah,
was one, and I have been waiting for a year long to get some more projects, but luckily I found this. Actually, Randeep found me
yeah.
through who uh, who was
Shout
my
out
story
Randy.
supervisor in my previous movie. So she recommended me to Randeep, and then Randeep recommended me. He looked at my work, he liked it,
Yeah,
and he recommended me, and that's how I got this opportunity.
yeah. Your work's incredible. I always figured it was a matter of time before you'd end up on some projects, or maybe we'd end up on the same project at some point.
Yeah, I still remember you offered me to, work on Witch Dragon in back in 2015, I guess,
Yeah,
and it didn't work out.
yeah,
But I have always been your fan, and I have learned so much from your blogs, and I personally did, story class with you. So yeah, I have great
yeah.
admiration. The way you know, you are giving out to the community, it's really amazing.
Oh, thanks, man. I'm curious because India has such a dope movie scene, like the Bollywood movie scene, and it's incredible. Like there's a lot of people out here in the U.S. who will watch the Bollywood movies just because they're cool, and they're like, if you guys are watching and you haven't watched any Bollywood movies, it's such an experience. They definitely feel a bit longer than what you're used to in a U.S. movie, so it's almost like you get more. Like It's a totally different experience than watching a US movie. It's kind of like
Right,
the first time you watch an anime, you're like, what is
right.
this? This is crazy. It's like another world, you know? Um, they'll the everything's more heightened, like they go more heightened in the drama,
Yes,
more
everything
heightened.
very loud, very loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Um,
acting, action, everything is very loud. But
yeah.
uh, in between them, there are some good films also. Some realistic movies which are doing really good,
Yeah.
uh, but they are very less in quantity. So
But they even though they're different than the US market, if you just sat down as an American and watched one, it's a great time. It's a great experience, you know. They're great films. Um, do you ever see possibly the way Japanese did their own anime market? Do you ever see something coming up in India like that, where maybe the way they have Bollywood, there might be a version of that for animation?
uh, actually, frankly speaking, in terms of animation style, I don't think so. But in terms of content, yes, there is a possibility because nowadays, I don't know if it is good or bad. If you ask me personally, I don't feel that it is very very good what is happening right now. Mostly Indian Bollywood movies, which are very very famous, they are being converted into animated series
Oh,
because
okay.
they were franchisee. So right now, as of now, 4 to 5 animated series are being adopted from famous movies. They have nothing to do
Oh,
with the movies, just the name and the maybe the director comes and promotes it,
okay.
and yeah, they got greenlit by so and so broadcasters, and
Yeah.
yeah, their game.
And
So
what do
it's a
they tend to look like visually? Like, do they look realistic?
no semi-realistic. It's kind of you can right now no uh, if you type on Google like famous animated shows of India, you will
Yeah.
get 3 to 4 animated shows which are adaptation of movies, live action movies.
Yeah.
So they're not visually rich, but it's the only thing that since on Indian TV channel we get to see only those, and we
Yeah.
don't have any content. Uh, Not a single broadcaster or a channel is serious about making content above 12 plus years.
All right. If you're out in India, is something like Netflix popular or
Netflix
um,
is becoming popular. Netflix, Amazon, both are becoming popular, but
yeah.
they're not going to take animation a lot. They are not at all. They have
Yeah.
taken only 1 or 2 shows till now, but it's very difficult to get into because
But do people watch like Stranger Things on Netflix out in India? Like, is something like that popular? Or
yes,
yeah.
they all the shows are popular. I told all my friends to watch Kipo
Oh,
because
thank you.
when it was coming out, I told everyone to watch Kipo. I don't know how many people watched it, but I watched it.
Thank you.
Not the whole of it. I watched almost first season and
Yeah.
second third are left, so I have to watch it.
Cool.
And I really liked it. But people
Okay.
here, there are different kind of audiences. Uh,
Yeah.
it's a huge population, so people are so much diverse. There are people who are very keen on watching good content.
Mm-hmm.
There are also people who are very keen on watching those loud things which you right now spoke about.
Watching loud things.
Yes, loud things like what you said, the films which are very very loud,
Yeah. Yeah.
exaggerated, that kind of thing, which is for a certain kind of mass. So there are
Mm-hmm.
also people who love Stranger Things, and there are also people who love that kind of
There's
series as well.
also there's also a strong connection of the music. Like sometimes if a Bollywood movie's coming out, the song will come out first, right?
Yes,
And so everyone on the radio, they get used to the song, and then they want to go see the movie because they already know the music.
yes, yes. Because in Bollywood, I don't know from the beginning, when Bollywood movie started, we I don't know how it started, but it started like movie means it must have few songs.
Yeah.
Previously in 90s, we used to have 8 to 9 songs, almost each song being 6 to 7 minutes long.
Yeah.
So the whole movie would be filled with 8 to 9 songs, And right now it's decreasing gradually. Right
Yeah.
now movies have only one or two songs, and so many movies are not even having songs. Some
Oh,
series.
so it is kind of shifting, and people are
Yes,
doing different types of filmmaking now.
yes,
That's
definitely.
cool. It's also been cool to watch, like, I mean, my wife is Korean, and this year a Korean film won the Academy Award. Uh, it's dope to see the, like, just the whole world film market also kind of equaling out in a way, where not
Yes,
everything's coming from Hollywood.
yes. Actually, Korean film. I am a huge fan of Korean films. I watch a lot of Korean films. I have even remembered the names of the actors and stuff. So
Oh yeah,
so yeah. So I've been watching all of it. When Parasite came out, when I watched it, I was like, "What kind of movie is this? This is something very different." It was a different experience,
yeah.
and it got its due, and it got the Oscar, which was
I
very
When I was watching it, I felt this relationship to animation I couldn't figure out until we bought his storyboarding book and realized he storyboarded the whole film by hand. And
right.
then I was like, oh, a lot of the way he's doing his filmmaking is reminding me of, like, how he'll do the metaphor of, like, there'll be a line in the screen and a character comes across the line and goes back and it means something. Is
Right,
such like an animation kind of thing to do.
right,
Uh,
right.
but it was
They,
cool. It was cool to check out that he's drawing out all his. I think I actually have the book. If people, I think this is it. It's like, yeah, with all his, like, storyboard
wow,
drawings. If you guys
wow.
haven't seen,
Yes,
but yeah,
I saw
he.
I saw some storyboards on online, but I never realized that they have published a book out of it. I
This
must.
is, to me, this is the epitome of what your storyboards should look like. This is kind of how I draw my storyboards too. Like,
Yeah,
I kind of think of them more as, just very quick, simple ways to block out the story versus making pretty drawings.
right,
Um, but I love seeing that book and seeing how he does that.
right. Mostly, even when I sit and start doing my storyboards, if someone tells me that you have to tighten the drawings and you have to draw clean, then some somehow the storyboard is not at the end result is not so good.
Yeah.
If I'm doing it rough and keeping it rough, then I feel a bit satisfied. But if I'm cleaning it up, then yeah, it's not so
Someone
good.
someone just asked what this was for. It's for the movie Parasite. Those are the boards for Parasite. Um,
Have you seen any Bollywood movies?
yeah. I've seen. God, I'm trying to remember the name. I loved. I saw one, and I think it was a pretty famous one because my friend who was Indian wanted to show me some films, and she was like, "You got to see this one." And I can't remember the name, but it was about. I feel like it was about this guy, the actor. I think he maybe has one thumb or two thumb. Like,
Right.
you know
There
what I'm
is one.
talking about, right?
Yes.
And he, something happens to him in his childhood, and he spends his whole life to get, like, revenge on somebody. So,
Okay.
do you know that movie?
I think it's Agnipath. There's a villain who is completely bald.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is also a remake of another Hindi movie.
Mm,
So the original one is pretty good. I might suggest you some few movies, and I bet you'll like it.
great. Yeah, I'll definitely watch them.
Yes,
What? So, like, at first, did you work at some Indian studios when you first got
yes,
out of school?
yes. I started working at Indian studios only because overseas work was it was like a dream kind of thing. Uh, that too in pre-production.
Yeah.
So I have
You
been
were
following.
storyboarding or animating, or what were you doing at
No,
first?
no, I was in storyboarding only since the beginning, but I never
Great.
got the chance. And where I was working, there was a studio in Mumbai. Uh, I got into storyboarding pre-production, but I left that because they didn't have any work for me. and I was going to the studio and sitting idle for
Yeah.
for 2 3 months. I didn't like that, so I left that. There was a
That sounds a lot like when I started at DreamWorks.
oh
There were people who would just play video games for like 6 months
oh my God. So
while they
which
were
was
waiting for rewrites. But that was the old times. It's not like that anymore.
oh, but
But but go on. So you were kind of
it was
sitting idle for
of
weeks at a time.
yeah, it was nothing of that sort. So I was waiting and I started, I went into a studio. It was a big studio at that time. It was new. The name of the studio was Reliance Big Animation. It was a company by Reliance. You must be knowing Reliance Group, right? It's a big group of India.
Hmm.
So we had Big Animation. They were making 8 movies at that time. So in
Wow.
India, animated feature film was a very big deal. And this company was doing 8 feature films. They were only into feature films.
And
So I went
were
there,
these were they CG or 2D?
both.
Both.
They never had any, foundation for any kind of medium. So they were open. They had some big Bollywood directors. They
Wow.
were in connection with them. Huge money was put in, but somehow something happened. Things didn't went the way they were planned, and it
Yeah.
shut down.
Okay.
So, but they ended up doing one movie, one 2D movie, uh, whose quality was very good. It was on mythology. So I ended up working on that, but I did little bit of storyboarding on that, but mostly I was put into animation because in my resume I had written that I can do animation as well. So I was put
Okay.
into, forcefully to do 2D animation.
Wow.
So I worked there for 4 years. Then again, there was no experience of storyboarding, real storyboarding. And then after that, again, 1 year passed and I was doing nothing again. So my whole team was sacked. I was the only survivor of the of the team.
Wow.
So I started practicing. I started, buying books and everything because that time there were no tutorials or anything. So
Yeah.
I started following all the artists. I started talking to them. I talked to Marcos Matthew. I talked to Hans Baker. Whoever I was,
Yeah.
I could reach out to. So I talked to them. I asked them for advice. They gave me advice. So I was practicing for whole 1.5 year.
That's cool
And
that Marcos talked to you. Marcos is one of the friendliest, nicest guys I've ever worked
yes,
with.
yes. I mailed him once, and he replied to me, and very
Yeah.
very promptly. And his advice was real gold.
Yeah.
It
Because I
was
remember, I'm trying to think if you emailed me or if I just saw your work and messaged you, but I remember I saw it and I was like, damn, this guy is good. I was like, he's because we'll get a lot of messages from people. So a lot of times people message and you look at their stuff and it's kind of like, I'll still respond, but I'm like, you got a long way to go. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people, it's like, yeah, you got to study more. You got to work harder. But I saw your stuff. I was like, dude, this is already really good.
oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Actually, I was always because I never had any movie experience or something. Because I always thought that I was lacking into something, and I want to do it. But how to do it, I don't know. Because even if after my college I wanted to go to CalArts, but if you look at it from Indian point of view, it's very very expensive. So
It's
I had to.
expensive from the American point of view.
Yeah, I have heard that in so many artist interviews as well. But
Yeah.
being an Indian, it's if you compare dollar to rupee, that kind of thing, and spending, if you calculate it in Indian rupee, it's almost 1 crore. So it was very expensive. So being ignorant, I asked my parents as well. See, father, dad, I want to go to CalArts. He asked me how much is the fees. I said this much. He said, okay, it's it's not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
you you I have done whatever I can. I can't send it to CalArts. I said, okay, no worries. I have to do it on my own. So I started researching and everything. And my first project, which I got to storyboard completely, that I got accidentally, and it was a overseas project. It was a
Mm.
French project, and it was action oriented, semi realistic. So accidentally, I was not given the opportunity in that as well.
Yeah.
But they took pre-production because mostly the outsourcing projects which we have here in India, we don't get pre-production work a lot because
Yeah.
in pre-production there's a very, very big vacuum in India. So mostly we get production work. But
Yeah.
here this
I wonder if that'll change. I wonder if I know, like when I worked at DreamWorks, I don't know if you have any friends that worked on. There was like a studio. We had a close relationship where people actually were flying out and hanging out, and we got to meet some people, and then people from us from DreamWorks flew out and lived in India for a while and kind of trained people. And they worked on Madagascar, and
right, Puss in
th-
Boots.
there was a there was a view that they had to overcome the cultural difference in, like, for instance, like if a character, if one of the penguins was responding, the way an Indian person would even just shake their head was different than the way like an American would. So
Right,
like they had to teach them, well, here's culturally how we respond to things and how we move and like
right,
all of that stuff. But it never bled over into pre-production, you know?
right. Because in pre-production there are very few guys, uh, you know, who really, because there's no school which teaches proper pre-production, you know. How
Yeah.
will anyone come up with learning on right now? There are so many online classes, there's so
Yeah.
many much awareness, so people are, you know,
I
slowly growing.
I have to say too, I don't know if you hear this out in India, but I hear this a lot in the US. I hear blanket kind of almost statements where people say, "Oh, the reason we can't do pre-production in India is," they'll say something like, uh, "they're used to like an assembly line where they just get told what to do, so they're not used to making stuff up." And I'm like, I know Indian people, like I am friends with them online. I don't know where you think this is like some weird truth that you just think is true, you know?
Right, right.
Um,
Mostly when people are good, they go out from India and work in US.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, and those, because if you are good, obviously you want a good career for yourself. And staying in India and animation, it's very, very difficult to make a career, to make a good career.
yeah,
So people go out of India, and so there's nobody who cares about education actually, animation education.
yeah,
So it's, you know, we are going circles actually.
yeah.
I have started one online storyboarding class. I'm teaching,
Oh,
you know,
nice. And
yeah.
you're teaching to people all over the world or just local?
No, it was open for everyone. I promoted it on LinkedIn and Insta and
Awesome.
Facebook.
Awesome.
I got 3 inquiries from overseas, but they never returned back, you know.
Hmm.
But mostly, my first batch is local students, and I am teaching them 6 months of online course.
Wow, that's great.
Because I want to, you know, already 2 months course are there. So, you know, so many good people, so many talented people are already teaching, you know, two
Yeah,
months course. But it to get to the 2 months course, you need something. You need to be ready at least, and those things are also necessary. So I'm, you know, getting them ready with that kind of thing.
yeah, yeah. I think there's a sometimes there's like this fear from people that like, oh no, our jobs are gonna get taken away. And I think for me, when I realized, wait, I'm already working with people from all over the world. Like this industry, it's so hard to storyboard. It's like you kind of have to be able to draw. You have to be able to write. You have to be able to emotionally engage with people. You have to be able to have a rhythm and a pacing of filmmaking. It's such a combination of so many jobs that it I'm always shocked, like I there doesn't seem to be a lot of Americans actually like even doing it. Like a lot of Americans, I think, they get told by their parents to become a doctor or a lawyer or something, and so
Right.
they don't go into art, you know. It so it's already, to me, it's already feels like this kind of worldwide thing. So I'm happy to see like you teaching and spreading the knowledge, you know, to out in India.
Yes, because I have always been, you won't believe, since last 1 year, I have been, trying to get to people to, fund me or support me so that I can start a small institute kind of thing where I want to teach. You won't believe there's not a single institute which teaches 2D animation right now. There might
Yeah.
be one, but it's very dangerous for the industry. If 2D animation dies, how do we expect people? If we're not teaching drawing at all, then how do we expect people to come out and do pre-production and do good stuff?
Well,
So,
right now, like, so Kipo was 2D hand drawn on paper animation, and it was done in Korea. And you would think that they're trying to save money by going to Korea, but the truth is there's just not a studio in the US. There's maybe Titmouse, and they were busy. We talked to
right,
Titmouse, like, nah, we're busy, we can't do your show. Um, but like, there's so many shows being made right now that they can't find people to animate it. So like, if you had a spot up and running where you're like, yeah, I have 10 animators, we could handle one series, I bet you would sell your services within an instant, you know?
right. And that Korean studios are incredible at what they're doing. They are,
Yeah.
really good. In India, 3D animators are very good. So many outsourcing 3D projects are coming to India. There's
Hmm.
Technicolor, there is 88 Pictures, there is, Eccentrics and few more studios which are doing amazing work in 3D. But
Yeah,
to
when I saw the stuff from coming from India at DreamWorks, like, I couldn't tell the difference. I was like, this looks great, you know?
yeah. 3D is quite good here. Not everywhere, but selected studios are there who do only outsourcing work and they have that
Yeah.
kind of discipline. But 2D is, going we contents are coming up, but the quality is getting lower and lower each day.
Mm.
So that
It
is one concern.
it it's amazing to watch what Japan did, where Japan just decided we're going to have these creators, and I guess in a way it started with their comic market,
Mm-hmm.
but just the fact that they were able to be like, we're not even going to try to outsource, we're just going to create our own content. And I feel like maybe they started outsourcing, like maybe in the 80s they did more outsourcing, and then eventually they just became, we're just going to make our own content, and we're able to make enough money within our market that we can support ourselves. And then it happened to grow out to all the other markets, like it came to America and it came. But I hope there's a future where lots of countries find a way to do that, you know, where
Exactly.
like India finds their way to make their original content, and they're able to make enough money in their own ecosystem,
Right.
and then it also spreads out. It'd be cool if that was our future, you know?
Yeah, I have one hope. I am being hopeful because of, so many OTT platforms coming in India right now, like Amazon, Netflix. And I hope if in the near future, within a year or within 2, 3 years, if they start taking up content, animation content from India, and that good content,
Yeah.
then I think there's a way that we can grow up, you know, creating
Yeah.
original content which can what content are being produced here on broadcast, like on channels, they're not good enough that I can recommend you, okay, Rad, you go and watch this and this.
Yeah.
So I want something, in fact everyone wants it, like some content should come out which we can share with each other.
Yeah.
I can recommend you, like, okay, this thing is there, it has come from India, you go and have a look, watch it, so
Yeah.
you can also watch it and enjoy it as well. But
The thing, I feel like you have an advantage on certain countries, like I've been kind of watching, I worked on a Chinese film, and I've been watching the Chinese market, and like they've been having trouble. They have all the technical skills. So like the animation looks beautiful. Everything
Right.
looks amazing, but they haven't cracked just writing solid stories. In animation, they've done it in film. Like there's some incredible live action films, but it feels like in India you have such a rich history of Bollywood and so familiar with writing your own stories
Right.
that it feels like it would be even faster. You know what I mean? Because it's like
Right.
you already
Right.
know how to make a good solid story that's already appealing to your country already. You know.
Right. Right.
Um,
Hope so,
it
because so many Indian directors are also there. You won't believe right now in India, so many producers and directors are also trying for franchises, superhero franchises. So
mhm.
they are creating some superhero flicks.
Yeah.
So, and big budget superhero movies. So with VFX, solid VFX and everything. Though so many VFX are being outsourced from, they are doing it, getting it done from other countries, but
Yeah.
yeah, but
It
they're eyeing towards that.
it's going to be amazing. I feel like we're very close. Maybe in 10 years, you're going to see a world full of just independent creators from all over the world able to make these high quality movies that
Right,
are almost indistinguishable from your Hollywood movies, you know?
right,
It I'm kind of excited to see that happen, you know, like the amount of creator driven content and get it because it almost is a bummer right now. It's like I think because you're watching in the US, you're watching the movie industry crash. So people aren't going to movie theaters. So the only thing that will get people into a movie theater is some huge movie, like a Marvel movie.
right,
But
right,
but like 10 years ago, you would have been able to put out a little film like Pulp Fiction or like a little film like these kind of little you almost can't put those kinds of films out in movie theaters anymore.
right, right, right.
Um,
Completely agree with
and
you.
and I could see it going. So right now they're trying to hang on with putting out like a giant Marvel movie or a giant Star Wars movie. But unless you're putting that out, you can't survive the movie theater, you know? And
Right,
I feel like at some point when that crashes, it's just going to spread out to all these independent creators.
right, right.
Yeah.
Because of this OTT coming into play, so many people are getting used to watching movies on TV on small screens,
Hmm.
and that is, so many people are getting work. So many movies are only made for small screens, so people
Yeah.
are getting used to it. They are almost, you need a big film actually to drag them to theaters, or
Yeah.
else they'll be comfortable watching it on their own TV, on a big screen, on their
Yeah.
own LCD screen. So that's completely right. It's
Yeah.
going to be
And I know like in the US, a lot of people they think it's a bad thing. They think it's a bad thing that it's dying. But in my mind, I'm like, wait, this just means this is an opportunity for these independent creators to finally have a voice,
right,
you know,
right.
because it's,
Every time a new thing comes, people are always, divided into two
yeah,
groups. So this is that kind. When I remember when video cassettes came out, so people were like, okay, we people are supposed to, audience are supposed to go to movie theaters. Why are these video cassettes here? VHS,
yeah,
But again, that was a complete different market,
yeah.
and it worked. It never stopped people from going to theaters.
Like
So
I would rather watch movies on my phone if it meant that we had more diverse and niche movies compared to like you go to a movie theater, you're only going to see Star Wars or Marvel, you know?
right,
Yeah.
right.
That's cool, man. So I'm also just kind of curious about, so right now, do you foresee your future moving out of India, or do you want to stay in India? Do you have a preference?
I'm That's a difficult question.
Yeah.
Actually, uh, if you ask me, frankly, I don't know as of now, but I am hoping to do good work as of
Yeah.
now. Uh, if I'm getting an opportunity, and I'm getting someone is and a studio is telling me to hire, they are willing to hire me and they want me to go there, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
And if I'm sitting here, and since because of COVID, so many studios have started working remotely. So
Yeah.
if
The
some studios,
the last movie I was on, our team was spread all over Africa, Europe. And we put up a map at one point, just looked at where our team was. And even people who worked at the studio just went home to England, went home to wherever they were from, and they just keep the time difference. So they're working from, 3 until 3 a.m., but they're just
right,
working on like the US time. But they went back to Europe or they went back to wherever they live. And it's at some point, I feel like somebody's going to be like, wait, do we really need to pay for these studios? Can we just do this? Can we just work from home and not have to have a studio?
right. So many companies are thinking that way. But personally, what I think is this is good that you are working in your own comfort and everything. But my point of view is if I get to work with good people, then I might get a good benefit out of it. I might
Yeah,
learn from my peers, I might learn from my colleagues. So that has always been my dream, to go to studios, to work alongside people who I look up to. Let's say you,
yeah,
for example, you. If I ever get the opportunity to work alongside you, I'll be more than happy. I'll be the happiest person on this planet.
yeah,
If I get to work with Glenn Keane or Marcos Matthew or any other
yeah.
person who I
Yeah, I
look up
mean, because I never went to art school. So when I got my job at DreamWorks, that was my art school. I literally, like, I'm trying to remember one of my first office mates, I think was Toby Shelton.
Oh,
And I just would look over and just watch him draw for hours. Like, how are you
exactly.
doing that? That is incredible. And then I would try to copy what he was doing. I just could never do it. I could never draw the way he draws. Um,
He
and
is a beast
yeah,
when
and I used to just bother everybody. Like, I would just come over and be like, how do you draw? Do you mind if I watch this for a second? And you'd see somebody draw a totally different way. And you're like, oh, let me try that way. Um, but
this thing
it was definitely
this thing
cool.
this thing you only get in studios. If you
Yeah,
work remotely, you'll be able to deliver the work on time, but you won't be able to learn a lot. That's what I feel, because in a community you learn a lot.
yeah. The other thing is we would do live pitches of our storyboards to a room full of people. And I've
Right,
talked about this before, but it almost becomes like doing a stand-up set or
right,
being a comedian where you start to learn your pitching and you're like, okay, I'm starting to see what types of jokes make people laugh and why, and what jokes don't work and why those don't work. And you start to hone your skill through the live pitch, which if you just sent in your portfolio, you might actually never be learning which things are working and which things aren't working, you know?
right, right.
Um, so it's someone's asking, is there a probability that you also work on live action movies? Yeah, I mean, a lot of people hop around. So like I worked with people that hopped over and worked on live action movies and then come back and work on animation. Um, so in the US market, the animation job is a lot more chill. Like if you've got a kid and you want to get home by 6 and you just want kind of an easy, mellow life, animation's great. Live action can be a little more hectic. Like you're getting flown out somewhere and you're not seeing your family for a few months, and then, or you're
Right,
working all night and weekend. It gets crazy.
right.
And you're just hopping from job to job. Like it's not like one movie. My first movie, Megamind, I think I might have been on it like 5 years.
5 years is a
Um,
huge time.
yeah, too long, too long.
So for 5 years, what about the duration for storyboarding? For how
Yeah,
much?
we were boarding for 5 years.
Oh my God.
we boarded, 10 different versions of the movie. Like, God, I'm trying to remember the first version. Like, he was in this group of, they called the Doom Syndicate, like a bunch of villains. It was just a different movie. Um, and then eventually it changed and became like a love story type thing. Uh,
Right.
but I'm trying to remember on, like, I did not work on Kung Fu Panda. I had friends who worked on it, and the first iterations, Poe was this like jerk who hated Kung Fu,
Okay.
and they were trying to convince him, no, you're the Dragon Warrior, you got to join us. And he's like, nah, I don't want to do that. And and the story I heard was one of the board artists named Jed Diffenderfer went to Comic Con and he saw a line of people in line to meet Mike Mignola or something, and they were going, oh my god, I can't believe I'm gonna get to meet him, and he's gonna sign my paper. And he went, huh, what if I boarded Poe acting like that? Like he was just a
Right.
fanboy, like, oh my god, where the and
So,
that, but that was maybe a year into the movie.
so, so you're talking about Jennifer Yu Nelson,
No,
the
no,
story.
no, no. Jed Diffenderfer was a storyboard artist.
Oh, okay,
Who
okay.
he's just the one I think who came up with that concept that he acts like a Comic Con fanboy
Right, right.
rather than acting like a jerk who didn't like kung fu.
Oh, so,
Um,
so right out of all the DreamWorks movies you have worked till now, which one is your favorite?
well, I would have to divide the working experience from the movie. So
Okay,
the best working experience I had was on Boss Baby, and
okay,
and the reason why is I had a fun office mate named Dave Needham, and we like our director Tom, he really just kind of let us do whatever we wanted. Like, so he'd be like, oh, we need a scene here, I don't know, you guys go think of something, like. So we'd get to write the scenes from scratch, and it just
wow.
became a whole, I forget how long I was on the movie, but it just became me trying to make Dave laugh. So I'd be boarding something, I'd be like, all right, Dave, what do you think of this? And I'd click through and he'd be busting up laughing. And then him doing the same thing, he's over there drawing and he'd be like, okay, what if we did this? And he'd show me something. So that was just the best, most fun experience of working on a film. Um, and I think maybe I got, when all was said and done, maybe there's like 20 minutes of the movie that I'm actually wrote the dialogue or wrote the jokes or whatever.
Right.
Um, but like on Megamind, I worked on it for 5 years, and there's maybe 5 minutes of stuff I wrote because
That's
like they
yeah.
end up just everything's changing constantly.
Right. So are you right now? Can I ask what kind of things are you working on right now? Like some movies or series? Or
I just finished up Kipo. I was doing something, but I just wanted to take some time off before I like um, figure out what I want to do. Like I had a bunch of, so even before Kipo, I had like 7 projects in development. So like that's something people should know. Like you don't just have like one thing you sell and then that thing turns into a show. It's like you may sell 100 things
right,
and you're lucky if one makes it through.
right, right.
Um, so I had a lot of stuff in development, and like adult shows, live action show, movies, and I just wanted to take like some time off. I always wanted to do these 2 Kipo stories, like a wolf story and then a prequel, but it looks like I might be able to do those as comics.
Mm-hmm.
So I might do that and just have the stuff I have in development. Maybe one of those gets green light and I'm lucky. Maybe not. Um, and just teach online classes. I'm 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 trying to figure that out. I mean, I could just go full time to work on a project that's not my creation.
Right,
Like I could
right.
hop on and direct something or do whatever. But that's like 5 to 7 years. And it's like, do I want to tie up my time for 5 to 7 years on something that I didn't create?
Right.
It's like it's a tough decision to make, you know?
Because I remember in 2014 when you were taking our class, taking the class, storyboarding class. At that time, you discussed about Kipo. You were developing. You were done with the comic stuff, and you were
Hmm.
pitching it to uh, networks.
Yeah.
So since 2014, yeah, it's almost 5 to 7 years. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything is a snail's pace. So if you hop on a movie, you're like, that's 5 years, you know, like, and so it makes you think. Now that I've done something like Kiva, where I'm like, I know what that experience is like, creating something that I actually believe in. It's a little tough to be like, hey, do you want to direct this thing that maybe you're kind of like, well, that's a great job and it pays really well, but like, I can't put the kind of music I'd want to put in it. I can't hire the kinds of actors I'd want to hire. I can't design it the way I'd want to design it. Like, it suddenly becomes like, oh man, that's a tough choice, you know?
Exactly, exactly. I
Yeah.
completely relate with you. Not on your level, but yes, because right now here I finished up directing a show for 3 seasons. It's not as good as Kipo. It's not even half as good as Kipo.
I'm sure it's great.
Oh, I worked hard on it, and I created all the designs and stuff and everything, whatever the budget permitted us.
Amazing.
But after that, I'm feeling like, what next? I don't want to get onto someone else's project and start working on it like it's a job for me, like I was working before. you know
Yeah.
I am looking for a studio which could respect my IPs, and I have few stories of my own to tell. So
Yeah.
if they could back it up, take it to network and everything, because in India it's very difficult for people to go individually,
Yeah.
go independent. You have to have a studio behind you,
Hmm.
to back you up, or else the broadcaster and the or the OTT platforms, they don't entertain you.
Yeah.
So you are nobody if you are independent. So I need to have a studio, but yes, it's difficult for me also, like what to do
Yeah.
next.
Do you also develop movie ideas, or is it just a television version of it?
No, I have one movie idea. I have, after you told me to, do you remember you asked me to, if you have any movie ideas?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So at that time, I sent you one, but I was not very, very satisfied with it
Hmm.
because I developed it, but that was not so good. Right now, I have one which I'm developing right now.
Cool.
It's in development, so I think it
That's
might
great.
take 5 to 6 months more to,
Yeah.
getting to get ready roughly.
Cool. Cool. I know that different studios out here are interested in doing local market movies and moving into that sort of thing. So, and I know, I feel like some of the streaming platforms are also going to be doing that too.
Mm-hmm.
Where if they're like, let's say some streaming platforms like, hey, we don't have any a lot of people watching us in India, then they will put some seed money to do local projects to try to move into locations.
Right, right.
Um, so it's good. I think it's a good time right now if you have those ready.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. I can get it ready by within 3 months or so, 2 to 3 months, uh,
cool.
if I work
Um,
fast.
I think we got to call it a wrap because
Yeah,
these IG lives will tap out after an hour. But
sure.
dude, it was so cool talking to you. Thanks for joining me.
It's my honor. It's an honor actually. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to join with you.
Yeah,
And thank you from the bottom of my
yeah.
heart.
Go follow KD. Wait, I don't want to try to butcher your name again.
Krutitwa. Yes,
Yeah,
it's Krutitwa.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I'll see you later.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Bye bye.
Bye.
Have a great day.